I'm done trying to live up to others' expectations. Family, society, class, race, sex, or religions. It's time to break free from the isms that make us feel like we're in prison. I'm ready to be unleashed as fuck. I'm ready to be unleashed as fuck. Tired of the madness, done with the sadness. Gonna break free and be unleashed.
I swear someday we really need to just record that whole thing because we're saying, God.
I know.
Hey, leash breakers, I'm going to lay it out. You and I were sold a lie. We were told that perfectionism is what makes us excellent. The perfect score, the most rewards, their certificates, all of that, looking for external validation. And the hours of unpaid labor held in little meetings in my head, right? They unfortunately don't pay the bills. And it's not leadership. It's all based on performance. And if this is something that has crushed your spirit or is crushing your spirit and burning you out, this is the show for you today.
Absolutely. And so many of us really were raised to equate success with perfectionism, meaning anything that isn't perfect is a failure at some point or at some level. But here's the thing. That desire for perfectionism is likely the very thing that is keeping you stuck and blocking your brilliance. So excellence is human. It's growing. It's evolving. It's learning. Perfectionism is rigid. It's fear-based, and it's rooted in shame. Just like some of the other leashes we've talked about over the several episodes.
Really looking forward to talking about this. Yeah.
Yeah. This episode is a wake-up call. Let's all try to figure out how we can choose our power over that pressure to be perfect.
Yeah. Awesome. Really looking forward to the show today. You're listening to Unleashed AF, the podcast that rips off the mask, exposes the leashes that are holding you back, and reclaiming the raw power that you were born with. I'm Deidre Beecham, Visibility Catalyst, keynote speaker and creator of the Medusa Effect and Trigger Tripping. I'm dedicated to helping you to stop shrinking, speak your truth, and lead unmasked as your whole self.
Every time you say the trigger tripping thing, I feel like I need to go, whoop, like I just tripped. That's just how my brain works.
That's funny.
Which is neither perfect or excellent. It's just how it works. So I'm Jenny Battig, certified hypnotherapist, coach, speaker, author, human factors engineer, and most importantly, a liberator of your subconscious superpowers. And I love helping people to understand and unleash what's already inside them so that they can stop sabotaging themselves and start soaring. And together we are leash breakers, dream makers, risk takers. Don't be messing around with us. So if you love what we're about, hit like, follow, subscribe, all those social media verbs, and drop your thoughts in the comments below the video or at unleashedafpodcast.com. We have a whole page there that's WWJDD, which is what would Jenny and Deidre do, that you can give us feedback, give us suggestions for future episodes, ask questions, whatever, do some follow-up, whatever you want to do. So we're here to expose the leashes, explore what it really means to be free, and to help you step into your fully authentic, unleashed life.
Awesome. So perfectionism, let's talk about it. I know that that was something that I was told to aspire to when I was a kid. You know, if you're not going to go at it 100%, if you're not going to make it perfect, why go after it at all? And it was always about external validation. That A, got a pat on the head. It was always highly regarded. If it was a B, I obviously hadn't tried hard enough. And I remember being so ashamed one day. I had gotten an instruction wrong for a project that we were doing in school. I was in elementary school. First, second, I don't know what grade we were in. Whenever you know your left from your rights and you're drawing things. And
Right.
And we had learned about the mirror effect. If you're looking at something in the mirror, that things are
Mm-hmm.
actually reversed. And
Yeah.
I misunderstood the instructions, drew the house, drew everything completely mirrored opposite of what it was supposed to be.
Mm.
And I got an F. Oh, I had never, and not since, but I had never,
For the record.
just for the record, I had never gotten an F. And it was just so shocking and appalling. And I tore myself up. My poor little self, like, looking back at this, I'm going, oh my gosh, you poor thing.
Mm-hmm.
That you were so focused on what other people might think that it destroyed the rest of my day. I'm still thinking about it after all of these years. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I remember back in high school, and this just popped up as you were sharing your memory. When I started to play club volleyball with people in Dayton, and my hometown was about half hour, 45 minutes from there. So they all went to different schools than I did. Their schools had already started to do, like, for your GPA, if you were in an honors class or a college prep class, you got a weighted,
Right. You got to wait and score.
GPA.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But we didn't do that in my high school. So as we were comparing GPAs, theirs was like, oh, I have a 4.2. And I'm like, how the hell I don't even have the option to get that. So I was like all butthurt because I'm like, wait a minute. I'm screwed because I went to a high school that didn't allow me to, because I was taking all college prep classes, but I wasn't getting any extra credit for them. So I think I ended, well, and I didn't get a 4.0 anyway, but it was like a 3.875 or something, which would have been a 4.0 at least if it would have been weighted.
Right.
And the people, I was third in my class, in my graduating class with that GPA. The only two ahead of me did not take as many college prep classes as I did. So they did have a higher GPA
Wow.
because they were taking easier classes. So,
That's
like, that
crazy
just,
stuff.
looking back on it, it seems extremely trivial. Like, who gives a crap? Nobody like
At the
remembers who the
time, though, it's
valedictorian was or whatever.
huge. At the
Yeah.
time, it's huge. And
Yep.
then that gets transferred. I mean, it doesn't leave us because we've stopped going to school. It
Right.
follows us into the workplace.
Yep.
You get into the workplace and your work needs to be perfect. You do something special and you've got the pat on the head again.
Mhm.
And the thing is that it's all outside validation, right? It's
Yep.
all, I need to do this because then this will happen outside of myself.
Yep.
So-and-so will be happy. I need to do this and get this done on time because so-and-so will be happy.
Yep.
And it's this perfectionism, making sure it's done absolutely perfect. It's allowing other opportunities to go by.
Mhm.
It's because you're so focused on this perfectionism and making sure it's done perfectly right and every single T crossed and every single I dotted, that by the time you get your idea out there or get a movement started on something, someone else has already done it.
Yep.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
perfectionism is absolutely robbing us of our creativity.
Yeah. And when taken to kind of, the full extent of perfectionism, it turns into something from the subconscious that's even driving us to do things that absolutely aren't the best use of our time. So a perfectionist is more likely to spend 50% of their time trying to get that last 1 or 2% of whatever they're doing exactly the way they want it, versus someone who's just striving for excellence is going to follow more of the 80-20 rule. What's the 20% of stuff I can focus my energy on to get 80% there? And then I can pick and choose other stuff after that. So it's a much more effective way to be productive if you can focus on excellence instead of perfection.
Yeah. And I think also, sometimes it can't be even categorized by percentage. If somebody is truly in their element, they've found themselves, right? They're expressing themselves because themselves in their uniqueness is their excellence.
Mm-hmm.
And I can think of a couple of examples, but I actually have some pictures here. Let me pull this up. Billie Eilish.
Mm-hmm.
Excellence personified. I mean, she has multiple albums. Do they even still call them albums?
I don't know.
I don't know.
EPs.
But her
Sometimes they call them
music
EPs,
is
whatever.
highly revered, but she doesn't follow the rules of what
Right.
we would typically call excellence.
Mm-hmm.
Right? She has her hair is, I'm sure, I could just hear a boomer right now talking about her hair
Mm-hmm.
or, the color of it, or she doesn't dress professional.
Right.
Lady Gaga.
Lady
She breaks
Gaga.
all the rules, every
Yep.
single one of them. And yet she is incredibly excellent. Somebody that drives me crazy is Alex Hermosi. He's certainly excellent. Do you know who he is?
No, that doesn't sound familiar. I might need to see a
Alex
picture.
Hermosi.
Oh,
This
okay.
guy is a multi-millionaire, and yet he's breaking all kinds of rules.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who would look at him and go, that is not excellence. Well, no, it's not the perfect perception of what you think a person should look like if they are a multi-millionaire,
Mm-hmm.
but he's still
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think another aspect of, because it's something that comes from how other people see you or what you produce, it has to do with, it doesn't take into account things like what they're capable of and what you're capable of, what your capacity is to do certain things. Right. So it even gets into, it's like comparing apples to oranges. And that's one thing that can really handcuff people too, because if they're struggling mightily to reach a certain level, just because that's a level that somebody else reached, and therefore that's what is now considered perfect, well, you may never be able to get to that level. But perfect for you, and I think that's one difference, is so excellence is sort of perfect for you, not perfect for overall. It's some people, I think, use the term that way. They'll say, oh my gosh, that was perfect. You did it just perfect. And in that case, it's like, yeah, perfect for what you could do. It's not necessarily perfect 100% all the time, no errors whatsoever. And that's even something that reminds me of a situation that I got passionate about. It ended up eventually, I think, leading to me leaving GE, General Electric, when I worked there. They had brought down a new manager to our division who was big into Six Sigma. So Six Sigma was one of those efficiency, kind of frameworks that they were trying to get everybody trained in, so that they could. The reason it was called Six Sigma is because Six Sigma statistically, and we just talked about statistics last week.
That's right.
But Six Sigma is like 0.99999, like 6 nines success rate or whatever. So it's like 100% would be 1.000. So this is 0.99999 to the sixth digit out, so that you only have 1 in a million basically failures.
Wow.
And so they were trying to apply Six Sigma to the software design that we were doing. And I thought, first of all, we're not even going to do a million of these. Every software that's developed is developed because it doesn't already exist. So you're not repeating the same process. So like the definition of perfection when it comes to Six Sigma for manufacturing, you can adjust processes so that something that's being robotic and manufactured like consistently by a machine or something like that, that can become 0.9999 accurate. But software is a kind of a creative thing. There's several different ways to solve a problem using software. There's not just a single target that says, this is the right one, this is perfect. It's like, no, there's 8 different ways that you could solve this problem with software. And I was beating my head against the wall trying to explain this to management, particularly the guy that was the Six Sigma guru that was sent down, and he wasn't hearing it. But it was like I felt like I was fighting for these software people because I'm like, you can't be asked to jump through all these hoops because it's not going to make a Six Sigma difference. It was just a waste of time
Mm-hmm.
because they were trying to make it perfect, and there is no perfect when it's a one at a time thing.
Yeah, and I was something that you mentioned earlier made me think about why I looked up what I did, because I can't remember exactly what you said. I'm sorry, but you were talking about perfection, and we were talking about perfection in the workplace and professionalism, and the varying degrees of that. But anyway, I was thinking, well, if perfectionism actually doesn't help, really, it's just a way to control your employee. This needs to be perfect. Go back and fix it again. But it puts people on a different level, right? I have this standard of perfection. Sometimes they'll say excellence, but what they really mean is perfection. And then I make the rule, and so I can make you keep going back until you get it right. And I started thinking about, well, when was the rise of professionalism? Because it seems to me that there was probably a big rise of that after civil rights movement, when more Black people were entering the workforce. So I looked it up, and it turns out, yes, that's true. As Black people gained entry into corporate and public workplaces in larger numbers, professionalism was hardened into code for comforting whiteness. And I just found that very, very interesting. And then the image of the perfect male was set, and that went into the military. And so here's the image of the perfect male, and so everybody must be clean shaven. Well, a lot of Black men can't be clean shaven. That actually causes pus and infections on their face. And so they made some dispensation. But for years, Black men were forced to shave, to be clean shaven, just like a white man, even though their faces can't handle it. So it just gets into where perfection, when it starts being the standard for everything and gets transferred over into professionalism at the same time, everybody ends up losing in the end.
Yep.
Because you're wasting a lot of time with things that in the end just really do not matter when you're talking about excellence, when you're talking about performance, when you're talking about getting the job done.
Yeah. Well, and I would say another thing that probably triggered a lot of the perfectionist thing when it comes to body image, particularly in women, was the Barbie doll. Right? I mean, that became sort of the expectation of the perfect woman. And they eventually did the measurements and like kind of extrapolated them to what would be like a regular sized person versus the teeny tiny doll. And it was like, that's not healthy.
Not
like
even a normal,
not even possible. You would have to, there would be something wrong with you actually if you had those measurements. It would not be good. But I mean, that still became sort of the bar, right? That's what so many women seem to strive for. And that's why I think the whole modeling world, more recently, it's gotten more broad, and there's been, plus size models and things like that. But man, models for a long time were just really skinny, like they were trying to emulate those measurements. Is
Oh, sure. Well, plastic surgery is a good example as well. I mean, really getting into a lot of body image issues here, but yeah, that the perfectionism, as you're talking about, can extend into other areas. Well, I must have the perfect body. It goes into where your visibility gets cut off. Well, I don't have the perfect thing that I'm wearing today, so I can't show up on camera. Or I don't have, I don't know, I don't have the right color wall behind me. I really need to change the color of this wall. I don't have the right color wall behind me, so I cannot possibly put myself on video. I've got a little zit today, so I can't go out into public.
Right.
There's all of these reasons that we hide ourselves when that's exactly what it is. We're hiding ourselves for the sake of perfectionism.
Yeah.
And if you really think about it, it's really shame-based.
Yeah.
There's so much shame involved in that. If I don't do this perfectly, then I'm not worthy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shake it off.
Right. I mean, that could even be kind of drawn into what you talked about a few episodes ago, where you were told you cannot do public speaking without wearing makeup.
Oh, yeah.
Right. That was a
I
standard, like a
could not be a
perfectionist kind of
speaker.
standard.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I went to a branding class workshop, went to a branding workshop, and this male told me that I absolutely could not be a speaker without putting makeup on. And in the end, he said, well, even if you're not going to put makeup, because I argued with him, and he said, well, you need to at least put lipstick on. And I thought to myself, well, I mean, is this the same advice he's giving to men? I mean, don't we have trouble seeing male lips too? That was his whole thing, is that
Right.
I couldn't see my lips on stage. Well, I'm like, well, does that mean that men are putting lipstick on stage because we can't see their lips? I mean, what is this decision that's not perfect, because in his eyes, what was perfect was I needed to have all makeup on.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I could be close to perfect if I at least put lipstick on. Whose decision was this?
Right.
Who decided? And that's just it. Is if that's not right for me, then I'm not going to show up as my full self. I'm not going to show up as my excellent self because I'm worried about how my lipstick is looking.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm not feeling right in my body. I used to wear my hair longer. I love it. It makes me feel powerful. If I had longer hair, I wouldn't feel as powerful. I know because I've had it.
Mm-hmm.
So my excellence isn't necessarily going to be someone else's excellence.
Right.
But in being able to get my excellence out, I have the opportunity to make a difference in the world. And everybody that brings their excellence to the table, that perfect, imperfect version of who they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Perfectly imperfect.
Yeah.
They have the opportunity to change the world, and at the very least, with a ripple effect, change another woman's mind and help her to come out of her, perfect loop, striving
Right.
for perfect loop instead of
Right.
striving for excellence.
Right. Which is the perfect loop to me is like a hamster wheel, because you end up kind of getting stuck continuing to strive for something that's unreachable. You can't get to there from here. The hamster wheel is not moving anywhere. You're not getting closer to something. You're just spending a lot more energy.
Exactly. Real quick story about this. I had written something to my boss. This is a while ago, and I was working for I was a volunteer. La, 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 la. I was working with a nonprofit. It was not volunteering. I was working for a nonprofit, and I sent an email, and it was about something that I found very important about changing the strategy that we were moving forward with something. And I misspelled one word. And instead of getting an email back about, okay, this is a great idea, instead, he CC'd everybody, because it was a mass email. He CC'd everybody about that they couldn't possibly believe what I had to say or follow what I had to say when I couldn't spell a word correctly. We're focusing on the wrong things here.
Yeah.
Should I have put it through Grammarly first? Probably. But it wasn't going out for print. This was just internal, and the focus was on the wrong thing. But the point wasn't the misspelling. The point was to put me in my place, which is what perfectionism is all about. If I can make a rule that if everything that comes by my desk has to be perfect, or I'm going to shame you in front of everybody.
Yeah.
Now, what happened to me? Well, I certainly didn't want to participate in that nonprofit anymore.
Yeah.
And
isn't this exactly? This is exactly what Hegseth was doing when he addressed the generals at Quantico last week, or whenever it was, right?
Yeah.
He's talking about all of you, we shouldn't have fat generals walking the hallways. We shouldn't like, have you looked at the president behind you?
Yeah.
He's not anywhere close to military, like physical fitness standards. But they're putting that in place so that they can shame the people.
Yeah.
And hopefully
exactly.
have them resign or something, like they're trying to control them in that way for sure.
Right. And with women, that is so easy to trigger because that's
Yep.
already built in. It's something that inner critic is
Yep.
very, very strong.
Yep.
Unless you have done a lot of internal work and been able to focus more on your excellence rather than being perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I even went so far as to search, or, I was asking AI about, did perfectionism, the concept of perfectionism, come up in the Bible? And sure enough, because of translations and how they kind of translate in whatever way works for whoever's publishing their version of the Bible, it does say, so the Greek word that was found in the Bible at one point was teleos. And its true meaning, it's like it does not mean flawless or sinless or whatever. It means complete, whole, or fully grown, having reached its intended purpose or maturity. But they've made it into something where it's representing perfection, the way that it's used in the Bible.
Hmm.
So they've morphed something that really originally kind of intended something more like excellence, but they've made it seem like it's a perfection standard.
Well, that's interesting. Let's pull up this video that you had found. This is Mel Robbins talking to somebody about the difference between excellence and perfection. Oh, let's move this to here.
How do you pursue excellence versus the trap of being perfect? Like, what's the difference between excellence and that perfectionism trap that women get stuck in?
That is such a beautiful question. I think that you have to learn, and this is going to sound, and I don't want it to sound self-limiting, we all have a different measuring stick, right?
Yeah.
What is perfect to you is not perfect to me. And I think that we have to be realistic with ourselves. And so what I've done in my life is really think about myself. I'm not looking in the media, I'm not on social, I'm not in a magazine trying to live up to that version. I'm like, what is my version of excellence based on where I come from and who I am? What's good enough for me? Because I'm not comparing myself to anyone else. You and I both love that same quote, right? It's like, it's you against you.
Yes.
Like, that's it. And that's where you have to be very, very honest and very self-reflective. Because if you are going to be in the comparison game, you will never be satisfied. You will never be happy.
Okay, I think I just got it. I want to extract what you just said and give it back to you and see if I heard you correctly, because I think I just got the difference. You ready? So perfectionism is when you are focused on the outside. Perfectionism is when you are measuring what other people are going to think about what you just did. Excellence is on the inside, because excellence is about the effort in and whether or not the effort that you put in is good enough for you.
That right there, man.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yep.
That's
Thank you,
excellent.
Mel Robbins. Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that also shows up in the 4 agreements, that same concept where one of the agreements is always do your best. But within that chapter, it talks about how your best can be different on different days, and your best is
Absolutely.
different from someone else's best. So,
Absolutely.
you need to gauge your expectations based on knowing that your best is not going to be the same, certainly as other people's best, but even within yourself, it'll be different on different days, depending on what you're dealing with.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes me think about, how different people have different perspectives on excellence. I want to share this lady. Her name is Cindy Gallup. So Cindy Gallup, she comes out of the marketing space. So she knows all too well about how things need to be perfect. And you have to be careful about corporate perception, etc. And she noticed that, women just weren't getting the funding when they were going out in business for themselves. They weren't getting the funding that men were getting. And she's also a huge feminist, and hence her business, Make Love, Not Porn. But she is just amazing. Here's this woman in her late 60s, just full on out with, this is what I believe. This is what I believe is excellence. And this is how this needs to change so that other women can be excellent. And when you look at her, you think, is she really all that powerful? Yes, she's amazingly powerful. And the perfect depiction of what excellence can be when it's just you sharing the best that you have to offer. And she is making changes everywhere she goes and speaks all over the world. Absolutely an amazing individual. Now, is she perfect? No, but she is absolutely excellent in everything that she does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and that reminds me of someone that we may both know, actually, from when you used to live down here, from a networking group that we were both in. And I remember feeling like she had published a book, and it really had gotten some traction in kind of some niche areas. And so she was like kind of doing talks and stuff like that, several places, talking about the concepts in the book and stuff like that. And I'm like, see, that's what I should be doing. Why has she gotten that far and I haven't? And I will tell you, because I would be able to look at her book and go, well, that's not that special, or that's not that different. Like, what's so special about that? Well, the fact that she got it out there. It wasn't perfect, but she did it.
Yeah.
Right. So I definitely have fallen, into that trap of perfectionism being a crutch or my hamster wheel. Spinning my wheels and not actually putting something out and going, well, why am I not getting these opportunities? Well, because I didn't put anything out there to get the attention.
And that is a really good point. That perfectionism leads you into the trap of not taking action.
Yep.
I love that. Because excellence and putting yourself out there is all about risk.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And being comfortable with risk. But if you've been raised to think that perfection is the ultimate, then it's really difficult to take risk, because everything is calculated. If you're perfect, everything is calculated, and it has to be completely calculated before you can jump forward, because there is no risk if you can at least be perfect.
Right.
But excellence requires risk. It requires you to take action. I think I'm really glad you brought that up. It's about taking action.
Yeah. And another person that I know, we both know from that same networking group, has, I think probably to both of us at different times, talked about her concept of taking imperfect action.
Yeah.
Vicky Eyeball. That's something I always attribute to her. I don't know that she's the first one to say it, obviously, but she has brought that up at key times for me. So just take imperfect action. Do something, doesn't have to be perfect. Just take a step.
Yeah.
And that's useful.
Keep the flow going. The flow going. Yeah. And that's another visual, right? You could take it that if the longer you stay in one place trying to be perfect, you ever watch, a stream, and then there's that one point where everything just kind of swirls and it gets dark and murky because it's not moving and not flowing downstream.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good visual. I like that.
Well, and even if you're trying to, I got my car when I first moved to Florida. I drove my car over to the beach, but I was taking my dog with me, and at that time, dogs weren't allowed on the beach. So I wanted to go to more of a private place that wasn't more like touristy or whatever. So I went to a place that didn't have a paved parking lot. I just pulled over and parked in some sand. And when I went to get out, I couldn't get out because my car just kept digging a hole. The wheels were spinning, but it just kept getting lower and lower. And I eventually had to call AAA. But that was not a good situation either. Like, it didn't matter how much I was going to turn those tires. They weren't going anywhere. Like, they weren't going to get me out of the rut that I had dug for myself,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't
Yeah, I
take
love that.
action earlier to give some traction to the tire so that it could actually move. But live and learn.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to walk away from something.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting you're talking about the car example. I had my kids in the car, and we had gone to a book signing, and I pulled in, and I think I've told this story before, where we pulled in, and I ended up with the back end of the car up in the air, and my kids, especially my older son, he was like, "Oh, we've got to call Dad. We've got to get this fixed." And I was like, "No, we're going to the book signing." And so I got out of the car and was like, "Let's go." And he's like, "What's going to happen?" I'm like, "Well, there's nothing I can do about this right now, but I can go to the book signing.
Right.
And at some point we'll have to deal with this. We don't have to do it right now. Is this a problem? Is it imperfect? Absolutely.
Yep.
But let's go do this. This will take care of itself." And got down and started, and enjoyed the book signing. And then somebody yells out, "Whose car is up in the air down in the ditch?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's me." And they're like, "We're already attached to it. We're just looking for the owner. We're going to pull it out for you." And I was like, "Awesome."
There you
So
go.
sometimes it's okay to just walk away from the thing that's not working,
Mm-hmm.
so that either somebody comes along that can help you with it, or you're seeing it from a fresh angle so you can take care of it. Things don't have to be perfect for them to move forward. They just
Right.
don't. Sometimes they break down, but it can all work out in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I want to talk about, is there anything else you want to talk about before we move into the rebel move?
Well, yeah, I did kind of want to mention, since I brought up that lady that wrote the book,
Yeah,
some of
please.
what we're talking about kind of falls into, I don't think we've mentioned this on the pod yet, but I have written a book, and it'll be released before the end of the year. It's called Mind Your Buckets, and it kind of goes through this kind of idea of, it uses buckets as a metaphor, basically, to say you have different capabilities, different resources, different capacities than what other people have. And so don't judge what you're able to do in a way that you're comparing yourself to what somebody else is able to do, because you don't know what their buckets look like. You don't know if their buckets are bigger than yours, or if their buckets are more full of rocks or something like that. So it's a really cool way to dive deeper into this concept of how we compare ourselves to others, or even what we expect out of ourselves. So keep your eyes open for that book coming out, hopefully in the next month or so.
Yeah, and it has some great stories in it. I've been reading it in the draft form, and it's been fantastic. So yeah, great. Thank you so much, Jenny. This week, we dare you to disappoint somebody. No, I don't mean like going out and purposely like, I'm going to disappoint you, but putting up boundaries for yourself to protect your excellence. When you put up boundaries for yourself, a lot of times that can be taken as being offensive, right? Being mean, but that's not you protecting a boundary. So dare you to put up a boundary this week that you haven't had in place, or you constantly let get run over. And instead of just letting it get run over, you're going to stick to it. Choose rest. If you want to say no, but your training says you need to say yes, say no. No is a complete sentence.
Yep.
Just say no so you can protect your excellence. And let somebody see your flaws. I know one of the things that I did when I was doing this for myself was doing a live, getting on camera and just doing a live without a whole script written out. Just here's
Without
this thing
makeup,
without being perfect, without just
Mm-hmm.
turning on the camera and doing a live and allowing my excellence to show. Was it flawless? Hell no. It was not at all. But that connection to my excellence, it was very, very powerful. And your connection to your excellence is very powerful, even when you're saying no. and
Yeah.
disappointing somebody.
Yeah. So we're kind of connecting excellence with authenticity too.
Absolutely.
Think of linking those two things together more so than the flawlessness, because
Love
certainly.
that.
So I just thought of one of the managers that was my favorite manager when I was at Harris. He was a smart guy, but almost every single email or any kind of written communication, whether it was a instant message or a text or whatever, had some kind of spelling error in it. He was just known for like fat fingering because this was
Yeah.
back when we had Blackberries.
Yeah.
So your fingers had to try to touch those little tiny keys. He always, he even used spell check and he still got the wrong words. Like we could figure out what he meant, but like usually it was spell check because it wasn't a correctly spelled word. It just wasn't the word that he meant, you know? So that's how even through spell check, he still had misspelled words. But he was one of the most beloved managers on that program because that was just him, like it was his authentic self. He
Right.
didn't have to be perfect. And I mean, we respected him because he was just like, he was excellent. He was like, we could live up to that. Like that was more relatable, right? Than someone who was, all like put together,
Perfect all the
whatever,
time.
in a suit or something like that. He wore jeans to work all the time as a manager, but that was okay. He was more like us. So authenticity can really, I think, have a big play in your excellence.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Another example of that is Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary Vaynerchuk, multi-millionaire. He's known in the digital marketing space and marketing space in general. And here he is in a t-shirt and a gray cap on stage, some national stage, I'm sure somewhere. And, but he is excellent and amazingly relatable. He is incredibly authentic. Let's talk about authentically our democracy being in danger. What a segue.
It's far from perfect.
It's definitely far from perfect. And they're taking all kinds of action. None of it perfect.
None of it even excellent.
Look at the momentum they have with taking action. So we need to take action. One of the actions we can take is coming up on October 18th, No King's Day. It is also an economic blackout. One of my beefs with these, I think they're great and they do help us. But one of my beefs with these is that we do it for one day. And until we're ready to do it long term, it's not going to have a huge effect. It does help with spirit, and it helps with, seeing all the people and going, okay, we're not alone. But we are definitely not alone. We aren't. We just need to stand up for each other and be ready to take action and protect each other. So get into community. That's a huge thing that you can.
I think I saw a meme or something either today or yesterday that said this is probably an issue that has more consistent popularity across the spectrum in our country than any other issue has had in years. And it was all about releasing the Epstein files. It was like every way you could slice the population, over 80% of the people want the Epstein files released.
Yeah, release them. Oh my goodness. Let's end this craziness. But
another thing I guess that we could point out that is sometimes we talked about like getting stuck, not making progress when you're trying to be perfect. But sometimes even for excellence, the strategy is to not do anything. Right? Because
then you don't have to worry about not being perfect, right? You don't have to try and measure up to perfection if you're just not doing anything.
Yeah. Right. But the Democrats, for example, didn't give in Congress.
Oh, right. I see what you're saying.
So the government is shut down right now, and they're going to keep it shut down until Republicans agree to change how they're going to go with the healthcare stuff. So sometimes there is power in not doing something.
Yeah, and that's why I think it'll be so powerful once we all get on board and we can do a general strike. So make
Yep.
sure you sign up for generalstrikeus.com. Go to that website and get that done. Because once we reach, I can't remember what the number is, 3.1% or something. It's not
it's
a
smaller than you
huge
would think.
number. Yeah, it's much
Yeah.
smaller than you think. Because historically, once that many people stand together for something, things change. But we have to be ready to stand up and keep fighting until it stops, until this craziness stops. See, if you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe, follow, and share. If you have a topic or question, please go to our website at unleashedafpodcast.com. Go to WWJDD. We'd love to hear from you. And as always, join us next week. We're going to identify some unseen boundary in your life. That's what we're going to do, and show you how to smash those constraints so you can unleash your full potential. And as always, we want you to take charge of your authentic and powerful life.
That's right. And remember, leash breakers, you're not too much. You're not broken. The system is. You're unleashing, and we want you to keep going.
Take care.
I'm done trying to live up to others' expectations. Family, society, class, race, sex, or religions. It's time to break free from the isms that make us feel